There's another kind of interesting scene that doesn't have to be there, but it's obviously there for a reason. And that's where this like giant predatory kind of bird sweeps down from the sky and scoops up one of the robed guys and carries him away, likely for dinner, right? Like that's the end of that guy. And I thought that was a really interesting moment because, again, there's obviously a purpose for it here. And my thoughts on why that's in this game is a couple of different reasons, right? So first, it continues to emphasize the struggle that these robed guys are constantly having, right? Not being able to defend themselves in moments of life and death, most likely at no fault of their own, right? They're these like perpetual victims, right? And more so, like you were talking about with Barret, it's at the fault of Shinra. It's Hojo and Shinra that are causing this like helplessness in these innocent victims, or probably mostly innocent at least.
Poor bastards.
So it builds sympathy in us for these robed guys while also building more dislike for Shinra. So that's one purpose, I think, for this like just bird swooping out and taking somebody away. The other reason I think this scene exists that jumps out at me is in storytelling and like filmmaking, which is my world, and gaming included, it's interesting as an audience to witness something unfold on screen, but it's even more impactful and more interesting to watch someone else witness something that unfolds on screen, right? So like seeing character reactions to something that we're also witnessing, that builds empathy and emotion between us and connects us more to characters, which is exactly what happens here, right? Because we could have just seen the robed guy be whisked away by the bird on our own without the party being there, outside the cave, maybe even before the party showed up or something. But it's so much more impactful to be there to see the characters we love and are connected to witness that moment, because we have this instant connection with them because we're both reacting very similarly, is like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, they're setting us up for the gaslight, right? That's all this is.
It's all for the gaslighting. Yeah, I just thought that was a really good storytelling tactic. And small moment doesn't drive the plot, but it does drive the story, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier where that 2000 Gil inside joke thing in the mines is obviously showing how Cloud is bought in at this point.
Right.
And then there's a scene that happens right before we walk outside where they're standing there and they're talking to each other, right? And they're about to walk outside and Cloud says, But don't forget, Shinra knows we're here now. And this is where Barret comes forward and says,
right,
I don't care if they're out there, Shinra or anybody else.
I'm going to mow them down.
That doesn't make any difference to me. I ain't stopping. Not for them or anyone.
That thing right there is like the equivalent of what they did with Cloud with the 2000 Gil, they're now doing for Barret. Like Barret is...
That's a good point.
He's sold, but it's also bringing us back on mission. Like,
right. It's the motivation, right?
We saw all this other stuff that happened and we were like on a side mission. We're in a dungeon and now we're about to go back out in the light. And he's like reminding the party, hey, remember the mission.
Yes.
This is what we're doing.
When you're in the Mythril Mines, right, it starts out like your motivation is following the robe guys, but then your mission has to kind of, like your overall mission has to kind of be set aside because the objective right then is to just get out of the cave.
Because you run into the Turks.
Well, it's to get out of the cave.
Right.
They're in the cave. They need to get out of it, right? And they keep falling deeper into it. So it makes sense that they would put that in as they're exiting the cave to be like, okay, we're out of the cave. Let's remember why we're really doing this.
100%.
Let's get back to tailing the guys in robes. They're our best chance of finding Sephiroth.
So that's even funnier, right? They walk out, Shinra's nowhere to be seen.
The bird wasn't sent by Shinra.
And Shinra was not there.
But it does build that sympathy for those robed guys.
It builds a sympathy for the robe guys, but at the same time, I think they're painting the picture of like, Shinra doesn't even care about you. Shinra thinks you're so insignificant. They know you're in that cave and they're like, leave them alone.
Well, the Turks were there. They're from Shinra, and they just left them alone.
Yeah, they just left them because they have...
I mean, they fought them, but...
It's almost like they're looking at our party as more of an annoyance, right? Than an actual threat. And so Shinra has other much bigger machinations going on, as we'll get into. And like, granted, I'm only in chapter 5, but when I saw what happened in chapter 4, I was like, this guy's crazy. Rufus Shinra is nuts.